All right, welcome everybody to like to call the Energy Awareness Commission to order on Tuesday, March 8th, 2022. First thing on the agenda is the approval of minutes from our November 9th meeting. So does anybody have any comments or discussion, questions on those?
I'll make the motion to approve the minutes from the November 9th, 2021 EAC meeting.
Seconded.
We have a motion and second to approve the minutes from the November 9th, 2021 Energy Awareness Commission meeting. Any other questions or discussion? All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, item 2.1, expense report for December of 2021. Derek has some information for us on that.
Okay, well, first off, I want to apologize. The overview in this agenda item was from our January meeting, and I had made a new updated one, but that didn't get transferred over onto the agenda before I published it. So I'll just kind of go over what should have been on the overview. The remaining balance for 2021 was over $50,000. So actually on the agenda item you have is about 81,000, which is not great. $50,000 isn't really great either, but I think just due to prices and COVID, some projects weren't completed that I was told were going to be done that year, which is why we have kind of a excessive amount compared to other years. I think for the most part, probably $20,000 might be a more realistic number for if it happens to be high, but we
Does
could
this
be down
carry-
to like $2,000 to $5,000 overall on a budget by the end of the year. So this is kind of a lot, and I did contact large industrial or industrial customers just to see if they had any projects. I have a bunch of money, I want to give it out, but they had nothing. So
So this just carries over to this year then?
no,
Where does it go?
it goes into the general fund.
Okay.
So
The cities or the states?
the utilities. Utilities,
General
yep.
fund.
Yep. We did transfer some funds over. I think some of the steam funds might be transferred over into the steam account. And then there's two accounts that got transferred over for just almost $5,500. So it's a little less than that because we did we worked with, you'd approved an item with a mobile village locations in town. So we purchased the boxes for New Mobile Village. So that was approved in the middle of the year, but we didn't get those until December, January. So some of those funds from 2021 are getting moved over to 2022 to pay for that. But we did, on the original agenda item, I had put that we went over on the natural gas accounts about $1,600, but we actually went over on those accounts $42,000. And that's the reason for that is those accounts from a prior year don't actually close until I think sometime in February. So in that meantime, from this original agenda item to what I'm stating now, you have a lot of furnaces that rebates coming in and things like that, which all add up. So we generally go over on the natural gas accounts because it's hard to say no and deny certain applications, especially furnaces. The water heater and the furnace check and clean was discontinued last year because there's not much savings there. So if I'm going to go over budget, I'm going to budget for items that we can capture and get a lot more savings to report to the state too. So any questions on 21 accounts?
So this is all part of the, what is it, a 1% allotment to be used for the rebate,
Well,
and it's use it or lose it?
electric is 1.5%.
And
Of-
it doesn't carry over?
And gas is 0.5%,
Okay,
and that's under state statutes. So natural gas being 0.5%, and depending on what the revenue is for from the natural gas department is what gets put into those accounts.
Yeah.
So generally, it's between $30,000 and $35,000.
So it's an allotment, an annual allotment. and it's
Annual.
Use it or lose it.
Yep.
So unused funds then go back into the general fund?
Right,
Okay.
correct, yep.
What happens then when we go over?
Well, in this case, the natural gas department's gonna pay that out of in excess of what they've already put into the accounts.
We can't borrow it from one of the other?
Nope, comes from the natural gas, so they pay for it.
Okay.
Yeah, so no, it's not technically like borrowing from the electric rebates that they fund.
Any other questions or discussion on the expense report for 2021? If not, I'd be looking for a motion to approve that report.
I'll make the motion to approve the expense report from December 2021.
I'll second it.
Have a motion and second to approve the expense report from December of 2021. Any other questions or discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 2.2 is the 2022 CIP budget. Derek.
Okay.
So the overall budget for 2022 is $257,000. Of that amount, $37,000 came from the natural gas department, and the remaining $220,000 came from the electric department. There really wasn't much changes. Everything kind of changes based on what we get, based on their revenue and what they give us out of that 1.5%, 0.5%. So there's the conservation calendar got reduced a little bit just because I'm trying to get that a little bit closer to what it costs per year, and then possibly a little bit of an increase. Other than that, not much changed in account balances. Nothing major.
So Derek, a question or just a comment. We still have the home show line in there. And
Yep.
obviously, they're not doing the home show. So is that a chunk of money that we should re-budget elsewhere, or can that
Yeah,
just
we can
kinda
use that.
sit there?
That's what happened last year. I don't recall what that was used. I think I had used. No, I did not use that at all. It just kind of sat there. But it can be, yeah.
Okay, because I was just curious, because like I don't know if it would be if it'd be something that you'd be interested in, or if it's something that could be done, but like the holiday LED lighting, I think you've been running that full amount, the $1,000, or have you not? Is that just kind of a fluke last year?
It's dependent.
Okay.
So this last year, yes.
Okay,
Year before that, we had like $1,000 left.
okay.
So it kind of varies. I guess it depends on what people decide to do that year. So,
Okay.
like I said, 2 years ago, I had used funds or it was 3 years ago, I had used funds from the following year to pay. Because those funds get transferred over because they don't go to a general account because they get paid out as chamber dollars. So they're there. What did I put, $1,000 or $2,000? I'll get that right away, and use that for the lighting. So that's money doesn't go to the general fund. That just stays in chamber dollars and gets
Okay.
used from year to year for that. So
Any other questions or discussion? Otherwise, I'd be looking for a motion to approve the 2022 budget.
I'll make a motion to approve the 2022 budget.
Second.
Have a motion and second to approve the 2022 budget. Any other questions or discussion? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 3.1 under old business. Taking a look at the Green Step cities, the best practices that have been submitted so far, I believe is what that report is.
Yeah, you were correct. These are the most recent submittals to the Green Step cities, which were voted on November meeting, I believe. So it'd be best practice 1, efficient existing buildings, and that was action 4. So it was 1.4, implement information technology efforts and city employee engagement to reduce loads, building energy use and workflow efficiency. That was our vending miser that we had installed initially down in electric department's break room, power plant's break room. So that earned, as you all are aware, there's 1 to 3 stars each best practice action can earn. That was a 2-star that we earned. The next was building redevelopment, adopt a historic preservation ordinance regulation to encourage adaptive reuse. I submit in that last agenda item that we had the November. That was a lot of that downtown preservation guidelines and showing on our website and to them that we have a historic preservation society. And we got 3 stars for that. And then also best practice 27, which was local food, which you can see with the summary there with the CSAs and supermarkets and hydroponics and whatnot at the public high school. That was the information submitted there. And just attached to this is anytime that we would submit something to Green Steps and it gets accepted, it gets added onto this list. And that's what's attached to this agenda item. Category A, city, that's what we are, New Ulm. Total best practices done, 3. Are all required best practices done? No. So it just has everything on here, and it shows what we've done so far, a summary, and how many stars we've earned for each of those. And that's kind of got some notable actions on the bottom. But this is what we'd get every time we'd submit something, and whatever we submit and they approve gets added onto this. So that's why that's attached.
Any other questions or discussion about the best practices that have been submitted? Otherwise, I'd be looking for a motion to approve approve the report.
I'll make a motion to approve the report.
Seconded?
A motion and second to approve the report on submitted Green Step City best practices and actions. Any other questions or discussion? Right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, then under new business, we start getting into some of the best practices to submit. So first one looks like it's best practice 16.1.
All right, sorry about that. So 16.1 is certify as a Tree City USA. Get it up here. So this is 16 is urban forest, and 16.1 is certify as a Tree City USA. So as a Category A city, this is a needed best practice, and we need to complete at least 2 of these actions. So this would be one of them one of these, there's actually 6 actions that we could do, and this is the first one. So this is 2 of these actions we need to do, and so this is one of the 2. And what everything in the body and overview is what I'm going to be submitting to the Green Step Cities coordinator. As you can see, it just is stating that the city has been recognized as a Tree City USA for over 19 years. New Ulm is advised by a Tree Advisory Commission. It's funded by the city. The participants of the commission are volunteers within the community who serve 2 consecutive 3-year terms. They also, like this commission in Round Way, has its own budget that they can kind of play around with. Some of the things that they deal with their budget is disease tree and boulevard tree and reimbursements, contractual services, tree pesticide policy, and education, printing and pamphlet material. They do something in the twice a year in the utility newsletter. They'll put something out and get printed. They also have booths at the home show if it's occurring. And then I also am including what the amount of money that they actually reported the last year, which was $134,000, was reported to the Arbor Day Foundation program, Tree City USA. So the Tree Commission, the Park and Rec will gather information on trees and submit on the city's behalf to the Arbor Day Foundation to become a Tree USA member and get certified for that. So this is where I kind of pulled some of that information from, like the total funds. So the Tree Advisory Commission doesn't necessarily get $134,000 to play with. That's coming from the engineering department and their boulevard tree replacement and things like that, including with what I suppose the parks gives them for a budget of their media type information. So, and then I just added that the utilities had a tree program for actually quite a few years and what that totaled as well. So that's kind of the gist of what is going to be submitted to them. And then below is just the star examples that I try to put on each of these, so you can kind of see what they look at for the number of stars they assign to different things. So certify for at least 1 year, calendar year, for as a Tree USA member, which that's at least 1 star. And then there's number 3. There's some things in there which we are also. So kind of just how they look at it based on what the number of stars they give. Any questions on?
So that word certified, that applies to the tree commission?
It's the city.
And we've been certified 19 years?
Yes.
Look, okay.
Yep. Yeah, so it's not necessarily, it's a tree advisory commission isn't recognized as that. The city of New Ulm is recognized as that.
Looks good.
Any other questions or discussion related to best practice 16.1?
What about all the ash trees that they're taking down now? Can't that be included somehow?
There is a different action that addresses emerald ash borer.
In here?
In somewhere, I believe, within the
Yeah,
green steps,
it's
yeah.
6.
There's submitting the plan, the city's plan for that, I believe. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say it's 16.6, I believe. 'cause
Okay,
that was
right.
one of them that I had taken notes on, saying that I think we actually qualify
Yeah, it is.
for. So,
You're correct, it
Yeah.
is, yep.
Yep.
C, yep.
yep. Any other questions or discussion? Otherwise, I'd be looking for a motion to approve the report for the best practice 16.1.
Make a motion, we accept that, approved best practice 16.1.
A motion and second to approve Green Step City Best Practice 16.1. Any other questions or discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. All right. Same thing, sticking with the green steps, best practice 18.8.
18, best practice 18 is parks and trails. The point 8 is the environmental management, parks and trails, develop a program to involve community member in hands-on land restoration, invasive species management, and stewardship projects. So what's in the bold black lettering is kind of what was on the website of kind of the stars. So in addition to cleanup of removal of exotics, engage community members in annual restoration of natural areas, replanting shoreline buffers, restoring prairie, etc. I put on 2 web links to the city's webpage. One was Adopt a Park, and the other was the buckthorn removal program, which are both kind of overseen by the city, the Parks Department, but it also is mostly, obviously, Adopt a Park is volunteers, and the buckthorn removal. The Parks Department does a lot of buckthorn removal, but there's also 2 to 3 individuals that actually are really involved in the buckthorn removal in town, and they have a lot of information, just specifically talking about buckthorn on the city's webpage, which is why that's on there. So those meet at least the criteria for the 1-star. And then there's, I can't remember if this was a 2-star, the next one, but I think these will also work pretty well with this, which was create and fund an annual citywide event for cleanup and restoration, engaging residents in most neighborhoods to create a public promotion around the event. Coordinate the use of unused public land for seasonal community use, pop-up parks, gardens, art, etc. So we have the puppet wagon, which I know at one time they used to go to neighborhoods. I don't know if they still do anymore, but they obviously go to from park to park. You have the New Ulm Rec and Go, which is something similar, but they go to different parks. They also go to other locations in town that aren't city-owned. I know I've taken my son to a few locations that weren't on city-owned property, public-owned property, like I think in between Jefferson and the middle school, things like that. And then we also have the Pollinator Park, which is owned by the city, but it was unused land that volunteers actually, I know the Garden Club and others are really involved in upkeep of that. So that's done with a lot of volunteers. And then we also have the community garden. So from what I've seen, other communities have kind of what they've done. This should easily allow us to get credit for doing those actions. And similar things that other cities have submitted to Green Step cities.
Any other questions or discussion on that one?
I'll make a motion to approve the best practice number 18-8, develop a program to involve community members in hands-on land restoration.
I'll second that.
Have a motion and second to approve best practice 18.8, develop a program to involve community members in hands-on land restoration. Any other questions or discussion? All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 4.3, Green Steps City Best Practice 17.2. Looks like environmental and stormwater management on this one.
The stormwater management is another needed action. So that was nice that this got completed. It was actually, I had contacted the city engineers department and talked to Joe Stedheim, city engineer, and asked him, since he deals with this and is kind of the expert in it, to mind if he would help look at this Green Step City section and kind of see what he could come up with and what he could do. And this was the first thing that he completed for us. And it was kind of an assessment. So this best practice 17.2 was called the Blue Star Assessment a few years back, and it's a self-assessment for cities to complete based on their current stormwater program. The assessment asks questions related to green infrastructure that generally are not covered by regulatory programs. Taking this assessment and receiving a score can be used in several ways, which is why I'm bringing it to you. It can be used later on in metric number 9, which is something we needed to do in either step 4 or 5. And then also for this best practice, we need to get it done. But the assessment is to quickly learn about a wide range of stormwater management options via the questions and associated informational links to the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency's stormwater manual site to see what other cities are doing, gather a baseline measure of action and compare that to subsequent years. So the idea is to do this, get your score, which I'll mention later. We have a score that we'll have to submit to Green Step Cities Coordinator. Kind of know where you're at from that assessment, and then get ideas how to move forward from that assessment, and then take that assessment in a couple of years to see what your score is and see if it's been, approved upon. And then, of course, taking credit for this best practice. And I attached, our scores for the stormwater assessment score was 28%, and the climate adaptation score is 33%. So I'm not familiar with all the terminology because I'm not an engineer working with stormwater, but I did attach to anybody that was interested what the assessment the questionnaire actually was, and the 45 questions that he answered for us. So I'm looking forward to seeing how much maybe he utilizes this and goes forward with it, because I know he's looking at some other internal things on how they do things. So hopefully it was good timing to ask him to do this, and maybe he'll implement some things.
Right. Any questions or other discussion on 17.2?
Well, are these good scores? I mean, what's the baseline? I mean, I know it's just a starting.
Cities were all over the place, but yeah, it's a starting point. I don't know if it's necessarily great. Obviously, the closer you get to 100% is the best. You see those different scores, and I should have looked at the size of some of those communities as well to see how we compare to similar sized communities.
Any other questions or discussion on 17.2? Otherwise, I'd be looking for a motion on that one.
I'll move.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve the Green Steps Best Practice 17.2, Environmental Management and Stormwater Management. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and second for Best Practice 17.2. Any other questions or discussion? All right, all in favor say aye. Motion carries. All right, item 4.4, opening it up to general discussion about the Green Steps best practices.
The only thing I had to state before, if anybody has any additional comments, is, as I stated before, I talked to the city engineering department to have them help look at best practice 17 and all the actions within that best practice. And I additionally sent an email out to Tree Advisory Commission, since there's quite a few items that have to deal with things that they can decide on as a commission, and information they may have, especially like the Emerald Ash Borer and other land use actions that involve trees. So that's all I had regarding that agenda item.
Anybody have any others? Okay, so I guess I'll just say a few things, and I guess these are just general notes as I was working through, trying to go through some of the best practices. There were a few of them that kind of stood out to me as we might be in progress of or already completed. So the first one we kind of already talked about, 16.6, my comment on that one, that's build community capacity to protect existing trees by one or more of the following, and they have several options there. But at 16.6, letter C, talks about adopting an emerald ash borer management plan, which the city already has, to my knowledge, and is posted on the website. So I don't know, Derek, if you have anything you want to say on that one or
No, I
not.
think that's a good one to do next. Get information gathered from that.
Yep.
And then present that to the Energy Awareness Commission to send off. And if there's anything, obviously, if there's something that we can add on to anything I bring to you that you think of, you need to let me know. And I just add it in. And,
Yeah.
Either bring it back or just submit it, however the commission wants to proceed that way. But
Yep.
yeah, I think that'll be a good one.
Yep. And then the other one, well, the other one, next one I'll say is, I believe it's under 18.2. It talks about planning and budget for a network of parks, green spaces, water features, etc. Under that one, I believe it talks about parkland dedication fees as some of the examples possibly, and I believe New Ulm has something with that as well for 18.2, so that might just be kind of something to keep up on radar if you're working on that one at all.
Okay.
Otherwise, I think the other one that I had a question about for, I guess, Derek, and I didn't know, you probably won't have an answer on this one, but it was back under 26.6. It talks about, the 26.6 is talking about reported installed private sector owned renewable energy efficient generation capacity. And then it has several things under there. But 26.6C talks about distributing heating, cooling services in a district energy system. Is that anything that something maybe?
Yeah, I noticed that.
don't
It's
know.
something I think I could write to them and explain
Explain.
how
Okay.
the power plant works. If they consider that the steam, since it's kind of like a byproduct, as renewable. That way.
Yeah, because I was kind of confused by the
Right.
wording with that, and I didn't know if that was something or not. So otherwise, I guess that's the only comments I have on stuff that I was looking at.
Yeah, because I mean, the steam goes out to the customer, unless it's being used in the process, is getting returned.
Yeah.
It'd be considered, what's called a closed loop system. It's not going to waste, So we ask, and if they,
Yeah.
worst case is I get the information ready, and numbers if so, bring it here, it gets approved, and we send it off, and they just say no
Yeah.
if it's not.
Is it pretty unique system we have so that they maybe haven't considered this elsewhere? So when they see ours, they'll
Well,
say,
they've probably no. I mean, you still have places like St. Paul has steam, and Duluth and
so we don't
Virginia.
handle it differently than the others do.
Some might have changed how they do it to a point. They may have, rather than steam going directly through a building, they may have steam going to some sort of a heat exchanger to buildings that then uses the steam as a hot water system in a building rather than steam. I mean, I guess there's slight variations, but
But it is kind of unique for a city to have steam.
still, yeah.
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 That's what I was thinking, yeah. So we got nothing to lose.
Right, whoa, yeah.
But
Yeah.
there again, the PUC is spending on doing rebates on steam repairs too. Maybe that,
Yeah.
we could incorporate that.
Yeah, and we can do that because technically it's a natural gas plant, taking natural gas in the boilers, or just to steam. So
Those rebates should be a item of saving.
Yeah.
Indicates it.
Any other discussion or questions? Derek, are you looking for any more guidance from us on anything with this for the moment, or?
We'll have these two. I think there's some others. I kind of have a little running list when I think of things. These are at least two items here. If anybody has any more that they see, and it doesn't have to be items that you think we've done already or in the process of doing. If it's something, you'd like to start, kind of like we did with the vending miser as a little experiment, something that was started after we became a Green Step City. If there's anything in here that you want to start to do that the city or the public utilities hasn't already done, you have to let me know. But it's still good to figure out, what we've already done to figure out where we need to go forward, so.
Any other questions or discussion? Okay, then I believe, any other miscellaneous commissioner comments? And if I looked at the calendar correctly, Tuesday, May 10th would be our next meeting. Otherwise, I'd look for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
A motion and second to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.